going on?
Thank you so much.
Feel like $1 million.
Shout out TMZ, you up?
Let me check out that rig.
TMZ stands for the Mayweather Zone.
How'd you find me, bro? I got my disguise on.
I love my TMZ family.
Welcome to TMZ Sports. Babcock here. Well, Jake Paul has been criticized over the years for the opponents that he picks to box. I'm not sure there's anything that anybody can say now because on December 19th, Jake Paul, the problem child, is fighting former Olympic gold medalist and multiple-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua in a professional boxing match in Miami, live on Netflix. It's obviously something, Lucas, that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, especially since Jake Paul and Tank Davis, since that fight fell apart. So you've got a guy in Jake Paul who was preparing to fight somebody who was like 5'5", 150 pounds. Now he's going to fight a guy who is a foot, 12, 13 inches taller and 100 pounds heavier in Anthony Joshua. It's a absolutely wild matchup. Now, along that line, Lucas, you've got a lot of people out there, a lot of Jake Paul detractors who feel like he is just going to get in there and get slaughtered. He's going to get destroyed. I had an opportunity a little bit earlier today to speak with the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions. That is Jake Paul's promotions, the organization that he puts on all of these fights through. So this guy is intimately familiar with Jake Paul and with Jake Paul's career and Jake Paul's thinking heading into this fight. I asked Nikisa, I said, hey, what do you say to the people who think that Jake Paul is just going to get destroyed?
I would say it's a dangerous fight for Jake, but it's a more winnable fight for Jake than Gervonta Davis. And I say that in terms of, yes, Tank is a much smaller man, but he's quick, he's fast, he's precise, he's super skilled, and he had knockout power. AJ is big, strong, and has knockout power, but he's definitely slower than Tank. He's definitely less skilled than Tank. And so it will give Jake, the boxer, who's been in the sport a lot less than Joshua, the opportunity to display a better skill set than he would have against Tank from my perspective. But he could have caught Tank and knocked him out, just like Joshua can catch Jake and knock him out.
It's interesting because he says it's an easier fight, but more dangerous, meaning that he is more apt to being knocked out, but also easier for him to actually beat Anthony Joshua.
He's really relying on that speed difference with Joshua and Tank Davis. And, look, everyone keeps doubting Jake Paul, and I used to be a Jake Paul doubter, but look, if they think that this really makes sense, that this will be still a very challenging fight, but honestly moving more toward Jake's direction as far as where he could kind of get a little sliver of hope in actually getting a win in this thing, then I guess I do kind of see that. But this is still Anthony Joshua, and, you go down the list, always talking about Jake Paul opponents. An MMA fighter, out of his prime, old. Anthony Joshua is none of that. So we will actually finally see what Jake Paul can do. But this is a guy who, is taking just 32 days notice from when they actually announced the fight to when they're going to enter the ring. This is a serious, dangerous fight for Jake Paul.
Yeah, I mean, there is no room for anyone to criticize Jake Paul anymore at this point. I get it. You want to criticize Mike Tyson being 58 years old. I understand. Fighting Tyron Woodley, who sure is a champion, but he's an MMA champion. I get all that. Anthony Joshua he's only 36 years old. There was a time when people thought he was absolutely the most dangerous heavyweight fighter in the world, and really an all-time great heavyweight fighter. Again, he's been a heavyweight champion multiple times throughout his career. There's just nothing you can say about this. I think, if anything, you could probably say Jake Paul is bitten off way more here than he can chew. But we're going to find out come December 19th when this thing is going to go down on Netflix. Before we move on, Lucas, Jake chose to fight Anthony Joshua here, but it does not mean that that's the only big name that was on the table. As a matter of fact, Nikisa revealed as much, and there was another guy who might be the top pound-for-pound fighter in the entire sport right now who also wanted to fight Jake, at least according to Nikisa.
As soon as we knew we were going to move away from Gervonta Davis, we had a list of opponents. And the two names that the three names Jake gravitated towards were Ryan Garcia, Terrence Crawford, and Anthony Joshua. And there were probably 30 fighters who accepted to fight Jake, AJ being one of them, Crawford being another, and AJ is the one that we came to an agreement on.
But so Crawford said he would actually do it, Nikisa?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, that right there alone is big news, Lucas. Obviously, Terrence just comes off beating Canelo Alvarez, and it seemed like Bud wasn't interested in the fight, but Nikisa says something very different.
It's really interesting, especially when we didn't know if Bud was ever going to fight again, period, right. Let alone take on a spectacle like a Jake Paul fight, that always is. But I don't know. I think when it comes to Anthony Joshua, I mean, Ryan Garcia would have been super entertaining for all the antics and everything that goes into his kind of fights. But I think when we're talking about Jake Paul, the boxer, this is the absolute fight that you can make for him to start being taken seriously.
Yeah, I'm not much into moral victories. In this case, I do think if Jake Paul is standing after, I think it's an 8-round fight, I want to say. I think that's what Nikisa told me. If Jake Paul is still standing and doesn't get knocked out here, I'm willing to accept a moral victory here because the guy's just so much bigger, so much more experienced, and he's still arguably in his prime. We're going to find out. December 19th, 32 days away. Coming up next on TMZ Sports, did Jamar Chase spit in Jalen Ramsey's face during the fourth quarter of the Steelers and Bengals game last night? Well, we'll let you decide. Jalen Ramsey says no. All right, let's talk Spitgate. Well, maybe it's not the biggest controversy in the NFL after the way that Eagles game ended last night against the Lions, but it has certainly got a lot of people around the NFL talking because the Steelers and the Bengals, rivals, played each other yesterday, Lucas. And well, the Steelers won the game going away 34-12. Obviously, it's been a disastrous season in Cincinnati. But everyone's talking about what happened between two of the team's biggest stars, Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey. So you know how it goes with Jalen Ramsey, right? I mean, there's a lot of trash talk. Jamar Chase is not the first guy who has let Jalen Ramsey get under their skin. Well, it's what happened as these two were jawing back and forth yesterday, Lucas, in the fourth quarter that has a lot of people thinking that, well, Jamar Chase could soon be suspended by the NFL because he may have spit. And I say may, I'm pretty confident we know what happened here, that he may have spit in Jalen Ramsey's face. If you haven't seen this, we'll show you the play here, and then we're actually going to hear from not just Jamar, but also Jalen post-game, and then we'll come back and discuss.
For foul. Defense number 5.
Well, that is a first down.
Number 5 has been disqualified for throwing a punch.
At the top of the screen, watch here. You're going to see Ramsey. He takes the left hand, throws a punch to the face mask, but then rips at the face mask. Ultimately, Jamar Chase's helmet comes off. The official was right there, saw the whole thing.
Yeah, he was right on top of it.
We don't know what happened before that.
He spit on me, so it's up. I don't give about football after that, respectfully. I'm always going to be all for trash talking stuff like that. I actually enjoy that part of the game. I think people know that.
He was saying that you spit on him. Did you spit on him?
I ain't never opened my mouth to that guy.
What do you think prompted the reaction from him?
Well, he don't like some of the words I told him. We've been going back and forth the whole time, so I'm sure some got under his skin.
Just to be clear, you did not spit on him at all, right? That's what he's saying.
I ain't spit on nobody.
All right, well, we will show you, because there is another angle, too, where Lucas, he spit on him. I don't know what else to say. It's clear as day on video, Lucas.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase got caught in a lie here, and I don't know if he knew that this angle existed, but I was telling people earlier today as we're writing up this story, it looks cartoonish. That is so much spit, you know, like
it was like.
And that's something that Jamar Chase is getting called out for on Monday and late Sunday night. People are saying that's one step too far. You know, you can trash talk all you want. You can get under each other's skin. That's one thing. But then when you spit, that's disrespectful. That's way above the game. And a lot of people are saying, look, what Jalen Ramsey did, that's justified,
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate for Jalen, and I don't blame him reacting like that. Look, is it wise to punch someone with a helmet? No, because you hurt yourself. But I don't. That's the most disrespectful thing you could do to somebody in my mind, or one of the most, at least. And I don't blame Jalen Ramsey for reacting the way he did. I actually feel bad for him that he got thrown out of the game, and obviously Jamar Chase was allowed to continue. I do believe, Lucas, and the NFL's got a rule: if you spit in someone's face, you get dinged a game. You're going to sit down for a game. And as a matter of fact, who was it? Jalen Carter earlier in the year. Yeah. Speaking of the Eagles, when before the game even started against the Cowboys, he spit in Dak Prescott's direction, and he got tossed out of that game. So I think there's going to be a penalty to pay here for Jamar Chase, and I think there should be. I don't know why he's telling the story that he's telling. I don't know if he's trying to save his ass and doesn't understand that there is a pretty clear angle of this, but it seems pretty evident to me that he's lying. A New York Jets player shot early Sunday morning in New York City. The very latest on Chris Boyd's status when TMZ Sports returns right after this. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Babcock and Lucas here. A scary incident on Saturday night into Sunday morning, Lucas. Chris Boyd, 29-year-old defensive back for the New York Jets, was literally shot in Midtown Manhattan and was rushed to a hospital in critical condition, literally fighting for his life. Now, it sounds like he is now stable, critical still, but stable. So I think he is going to survive this. But it's a terrifying situation. Now, the details are still not clear, but there was an altercation involving Chris, perhaps some other teammates, and another group of men, Lucas. And again, he winds up getting shot at least one time in the abdomen before these other people, bolt out of there. And as NYPD are now searching for this person who they believe is responsible for this shooting.
Right, and they shared images Monday morning of someone who they believe could be connected to the shooting. Other than that, we don't have much information about this at all. And hopefully we get that as time goes on, especially regarding Boyd's health status. It's a scary situation, and for some reason, NFL players have been involved in things like this over the past few years.
Pearsall, right? That happened 2 years ago,
Brian
I think that
Robinson.
Was. Brian Robinson, too, yeah. I mean, look, maybe you can trace that to just an increase in violence, period. But, I mean, it's scary. Look, he's at a fancy restaurant, and he is, eating dinner, and then sometime later this happens. So it's not that he was doing anything wrong, at least from what we know. And for something like that to happen in just, again, in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, it's disconcerting to say the least. He hasn't played this year yet. He was actually dealing with another football-related injury. Obviously, I think now you're not going to see him on the football field this season. You obviously hope the guy's okay here going forward, and you hope police find who is ever responsible for this violent crime. Up next, Islam Makhachev makes history at UFC 322 while some of his teammates get into a major brawl in the stands with Dylan Dennis. Makhachev's manager tells us things are not over with Dennis when TMZ Sports rolls on right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges score this contest 50-45 for the winner by unanimous decision, and new undisputed UFC welterweight champion of the world, Islam Makhachev.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Babcock and Dylan. There it was, Dylan. That was the moment that it was just pure domination as Islam Makhachev just thrashes 5 rounds, 5 dominant rounds. Jack Della Maddalena. His reign as the welterweight champion was short-lived. It was a couple of months long, and then he runs into Islam, and again, he could not stop the takedown. There was nothing that he could do with Islam, and just pure and utter domination from the first bell until the fifth and closing bell of this fight.
Yeah.
Never stood a chance.
Absolutely. Double champ status for Islam. This is crazy.
Right.
I mean, this is what we were all kind of thinking would happen. Of course, Jack Della has a spark. He's got the pop, but it was just too much dominance from Islam Makhachev. Right. You had Khabib in the corner. I love Khabib putting on the 2 belts, too.
I love that. Yeah, that was a cool moment.
Dana getting ready to put on 2 belts. Nah, Khabib comes up, grabs it, and says, I'm putting it on my boy.
Right.
Amazing moment. Amazing card at 322.
It was a great card. I mean, even from Bo Nickel as the kind of the featured fight on the prelims. I mean, from that head kick knockout and then Ben Washington. I mean, just there were great knockouts, and then Valentina Shevchenko just dominates Wei Li. She's too small for that division, and you might not like the way that Islam fights. You may think that his fights aren't exactly the most exciting, but dude, find me somebody more dominant in this sport. I don't think they exist right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I saw a photo. It was Jack Della before round 1 and before round 5, and you just see there's no life in Jack's eyes because Islam's trying
it's right. I've never seen that from him before. He just you could see it on his face that he knew he had no chance. And look, he's fought other guys who like to go for the takedown and are good grapplers. I mean, Bilal Muhammad being one of them as he beats Bilal for the title. And this is different. It's just different levels. And again, he stood no chance. And we'll see where he goes from here. He's still a young guy. But
looks great at 170. So many 170 guys we could see. We talked about Kamaru last week. Prates got a big win this week.
There's a lot of good young talent in
man,
that.
Like 170. If he's staying there, it's going to be a great division.
It really is. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see if he would even consider going up to 185. I would not put anything past Islam. And maybe he ultimately, maybe it's not Alex Pereira, maybe he's the first guy to be a champion in 3 divisions. He's now one of 11 to be a double champ. Now, Dylan, this was not the only fight.
For this team.
Yeah, they were involved in fights in the octagon, also outside of the octagon. Dylan Dennis, you all very familiar with Dylan Dennis. He is a guy who one time was very close to Conor McGregor. Unclear what the nature of their relationship is these days. But Dylan was at the fight, and there was watch this here, Dylan. There is a brawl, a big brawl involving Khabib and Islam's guys, his team. And Dylan Dennis, and they were just going at it.
Because like Dylan Dennis has ties back to when McGregor and Khabib's team. Remember that? That fight ended in a crazy brawl. And
Here
Dylan
it is.
Dennis was involved in this. This shook the sports world when this was going down.
Right. It's your point, Dylan. When Khabib jumps over that octagon fence he's going after Dylan Dennis.
Yeah.
And now there's Dylan Dennis, and now you fast forward years, and Dylan Dennis strolls into MSG, and something happened. It's not exactly clear what yet. What was said, what was done, something happened, and they were exchanging punches. This was not just some ugly words being exchanged. This was a full-blown fight, and everybody was kicked out. They were all kicked out. And there's Dylan Dennis, a little worse for wear.
Dana gave him the old lifetime ban. No more Dylan Dennis at UFC events ever again.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Absolutely nuts.
I'll tell you what. I talked to Dylan Dennis a few months ago, and he said his goal was to get signed by the UFC.
Ooh.
I don't know that there was a chance of that happening before, but I think now, sorry, Dylan. Now, here's the thing that's interesting about this fight. You obviously can see that the bad blood between the teams and Dylan Dennis specifically, has lasted for years. We talked to Ali Abdelaziz. Ali Abdelaziz was in the octagon. There he is. He is Islam's manager. He was Habib's manager. And he is very well aware of the kind of the beef between Dylan Dennis and the team. Is this over? No, it's not. Here's Ali Abdelaziz.
This guy is nothing but an internet coward. He's a nobody. He's a nobody. And in a way, when you talk about people, like this is a warning for all these people who really talk. You cannot live this life behind a screen and a keyboard. When you're gonna meet the people you talk about, especially this group, they will hold you accountable. This guy is not safe as Whole Food, at an airport, at a terminal. And if people catch this guy, he's going to have problems. He's not done. These people not done with him. For the rest of his life, he's not done. him or Connor. They're not safe. Or they have to come out and say, you know what? We sorry, we give up, we are done. And after that, you'll get mercy. But there's no mercy right now.
That's pretty ominous.
It feels like the Sen location. You know what I mean? The classic Khabib Sen location. No, he says Whole Foods is not even safe. I mean, I don't know if Dylan Dennis is a Whole Foods guy.
I don't know. All right, Lucas, before we go, we talked about Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey and Spitgate a little bit earlier in the show. We speculated what might be a penalty or punishment from the NFL, and now we've got our answer.
Yep. NFL,
Were they buying it? Were they buying it?
Nope, not at all. They said Jamar Chase is a liar. Long story short. But they said, yeah, it's unsportsmanlike conduct, and they actually spelled it out. They said it was violating Rule 12, Section 3, Article 1, which applies to any act which is contrary to the generally understood principles of sportsmanship. Suspended 1 game without pay. Now, he'll be able to appeal, but I don't know what his stance is going to be able to be if he tries to appeal.
No, and it seems right. And obviously, it's clear that the NFL believes he has already lied, so I don't think that's going to make him any friends in this appeal process anyway. I'm sure he is going to appeal because you're talking about a guy who makes like $40 million a year, obviously is incredibly well paid, and losing a game check is like $2 million, right? So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I am not so sure that this is an appeal that Jamar Chase is ultimately going to win here. So, but look, Bengals not going anywhere this season, so it's not like you've got a team that may or may not make the playoffs here. He'll likely have to sit out a game, and it's the price to play. The rules are pretty clear. We have got to go. Mojo, I almost said it's a habit. Mojo, more buff than Mojo. Enjoy the Monday Night Football game. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm a lawyer.